Mike Owens here. Today I'm joined by Eddie Alvarez, the Underground King, who returns to action December 2nd versus Mike Perry, BKFC 56. Eddie, great to sit down and chat. How are things for you today?
I'm excellent, man. Happy to be here.
Perfect. Obviously your second endeavour in the BKFC ring, obviously your first one back in April against Chad Mendes. Did your first experience in bare knuckle live up to expectations?
Yeah, I think it exceeded. I had a great time in there. We had a good time training for it. It was a new sport, kept it exciting. Same as this camp. Learning new stuff, doing a new sport, especially the opponents. So I just want big name opponents, big fights that everybody wants to see. And I think we got another one ahead of us.
When David Feldman or whoever you work with at BKFC comes to you and offers you the Mike Perry fight, what were the initial emotions that went through your mind?
Well, initially, that's the fight. That's why I wanted to go to the BKFC. Initially, it was Mike Perry. That was the only real guy we really wanted to fight at BKFC. It was the biggest name. He was getting a lot of attention, and love his style. Like it's blood and guts style, kind of what fans tune in for. So, it's what we wanted. We got Chad. We had to get past Chad first in order to get the Mike fight, but we got past Chad, and now, now we're getting what we wanted, baby.
Well, as I mentioned there, you'll be facing the Platinum one, December 2nd, Mike Perry. Give me a scouting report on your upcoming opponent. What do you think he does well in the BKFC ring, and where do you think a particular areas you could exploit?
Mike's tough as hell. He makes up for his any lack that he got. Like a lot of people say, oh, Mike don't move his head, Mike don't do this. He makes up for a lot of the lack of his stuff with his toughness, his grit, his will, that kind of stuff. So he cleans it up with that. But when you're going against another fighter like myself who has all that, and that all them boxes are checked, then you're going to have to rely on your skill and your game plan and something more than just grit and will to get you by. So I love that he has that. I think it's a fan-friendly fight because of that. But I think that's also what I can exploit as well.
He's coming up, obviously, off the biggest win of his career in any combat discipline over Luke Rockhold back in April, the same night you debuted against Chad. Obviously, you've had bigger fights, won world titles in MMA and other organisations. But is there anything you can take specifically from his win over Luke Rockhold?
His win over Luke, not really, because it's not like when I look at opponents, I look at like comparable opponents, like Julian Lane's a little more my height. He kind of I can't even make it comparable with Michael Venom Page. These are just tall, lanky, lengthy guys. Mike's not going to fight them the same way he's going to fight me. So the best comparable I got is like the Julian Lane fight, to see and look like how he can compete against a guy like that, and then kind of add myself to that. And then I can get a better gauge when I look at someone my height, my like speed, range, that kind of thing.
Talking about getting a gauge, there's not I've seen many instances where two fighters lay their hands on each other prior to a fight. Despite David Feldman's very worried face when you were exchanging body shots after that face-off, is there anything that you can learn from that exchange with Mike?
No, I was kind of I was expecting it. You know what I mean? I think he's been doing that, like going around doing body punching challenges with people. So I'm like, why wouldn't he start doing that on the stage with me? But there was not a learn. We exchanged a couple shots and we didn't get into the thick of things. If we'd have been able to go like 2 or 3 more rounds where we turned it up, maybe I could feel something. But he was hitting me with his left hand, then he switched to his right because he started feeling a little bit of power. And then it could have turned up, but Dave wanted to preserve Mike Perry's guts for this fight. He didn't want me to knock him the fuck out of his stomach.
I did want to ask about that though, because I think the fight was announced by yourself and Mike doing a face-to-face interview on the MMA Hour. I know that you've done face-to-faces with the likes of the Schmo, I think on MMA Junkie as well. So you spent a lot of time together on interviews together, which is quite unlike most lead up to most fights. So What are your overall feelings towards Mike? Because I can't tell if you're on good terms or there's a little bit of bad blood. It's somewhere in between. What are your feelings towards Mike Perry?
I like Mike. I'm a fan of Mike, like everyone else is. But I mean, unfortunately, I look. I only have to dislike Mike for 10 minutes on December 2nd in Salt Lake. Other than that, I wish him well. I wish he does really good. But for 10 minutes on December 2nd, I'm gonna wish the worst upon him, and he's gonna feel that. So I mean, other than that, I got nothing against. He's on the same path as I am. We're trying to make money, trying to feed our families, trying to do the best we can in this crazy world of fighting. But unfortunately, he's on the other side of that cage on December 2nd. So I gotta do what I gotta do.
When you look at this fight, this is obviously two highly trained fighters. It's also two fighters who've got an incredible amount of dog in them. When you look at this fight, do you think it's going to be a battle of skill or a battle of will? It's going to get you through this one.
I think a little bit of both. I think Mike is more skilled than what maybe he has a better fight IQ than what it appears to be. I fought guys like this that when you look at their style, it isn't aesthetically pleasing. Like you can see a lot of holes, you can see it, but then you get in there with them and it's a little bit surprising. So I don't want to get too ahead of myself because what I see what the fans see. I see a head that doesn't move. I see hands that are down. I see everything that the fans don't see. That I see a lot of openings where this guy can get hit and I can do a lot of damage. But it's always different being in there, and you have to gauge that when you get in there and feel it. So until you feel it, you don't really know the truth. But what I do know is what I'm capable of against these kind of opponents. And when they get aggressive and they try to use their will and their heart and their toughness against me, it brings out the grizzly in me. And I like to feel that. I like feeling that, and I thrive off that. So I'm hoping he gets a little mean. I hoping he gets a little mean with me early. That way I can just go right in that dog mode, and the fans can be happy from that time on.
Love it. Obviously, you've only had one experience in the BKFC ring so far. Obviously, you've had a plethora of MMA fights, a well-storied career. But in terms of the overall experience, in terms of the actual time spent in the cage or the ring with another individual, how does bare knuckle compare to MMA?
I think bare knuckle will be the next best sport there is. I mean, it's fighter friendly. I feel like it's fighter friendly because doing 5-minute rounds of grappling and kicking, it lends itself to a lot of injuries that happen in the training camp, and it's very difficult to get to the fights uninjured. The sport of bare knuckle, if you train properly, it's a lot easier to get to the fight uninjured and healthy and recovered and doing well. So I think it's a little bit fighter friendly on that end. The fights itself, yes, you're going to get lacerations and cuts, but that's all cosmetic. I mean, that goes away pretty quickly. But structurally, you're not going to deal with all the knee twist, back twist, neck pain from jiu-jitsu, wrestling, kicks, constant kicks. So I like it as far as fighter friendly, and it couldn't be any more fan friendly. I haven't seen a dud of a bare knuckle fight barely ever. It's just almost impossible to have one. So 2 minutes, the guys are usually pretty energetic the entire fight. 5 2-minute rounds, possibly a 6th at the end, but it's hard to get tired. You're going to see a lot of volume, action packed, and a lot of finishes. So
100%. We have the King of Violence on belt on the line for this one, Eddie, versus Mike. Obviously, you've won world titles in Bellator and UFC, so it's more of a metaphorical title than it is an actual world championship. But given the company giving you that respect of putting that belt on the line for this fight, does that add anything else for you going into this one?
Yeah, when I get that belt, it's just going to be a testament to what I already am. that belt will be like, let the fans know and clarify who's been it, who's always been it, you know. And I fought Justin Gaethje. That was sort of the first belt, you know, when it was deemed the most violent man, and we won that one. And then this, I'll be defending it, but I've always been the king of violence. And like, when you put something like that on the line, I mean, that's what I do. That's what I've always done. There's not a man around who's more violent, who can be as violent as I can be. And December 2nd, we're going to show up big.
We've obviously seen a similar thing, as you alluded to there, with the BMF title between Masvidal and Diaz, and then obviously Gaethje and Poirier over in the UFC. I feel like maybe timing was a little bit unfair to you, Eddie, because you probably should have fought for one of those titles. You've obviously epitomised the BMF and what it means. If you were to have fought for one of those titles versus somebody in your career, who do you think would have been the ideal dance partner?
Well, it would have been, I mean, me and Gaethje did, you know, that was deemed the most violent man. They just didn't make a belt for it, but it'd be nice to do it against, you know, go back and, you know, if the fans were to warrant it, it'd be like probably me and Gaethje again. Me and Dustin. There's Dustin and Gaethje. Dustin and Justin and myself. We're like sort of that's the trifecta of violence right there that the fans want and need. So I think that'd be either one of them guys would do.
Yeah. Couple more from me, Eddie, and once again, thank you for your time. I wanted to get your news on the reaction to the news yesterday that broke about PFL's official purchasing of the Bellator brand. Obviously, you were a man who became world champion in that organization, who built Bellator up in terms of its name and its following. Just your overall reaction to that news and any emotions that you have.
I love seeing news like that. I mean, I love seeing news that helps the fighter make a better living. Fighting's a difficult life. It's a difficult life, just the job itself. It's nerve-wracking. You know, you're scared a lot of the time. You don't know when the next check's coming or if you're injured. It's very uncertain. So a fighter relies a lot on faith and hope to get by, because there's not a lot of great stories in fighting. So you try to hold on to the great stories that are there. The ones of championship belts, and also the financial ones of guys making it on the other side and becoming millionaires through the sport. So anything outside of, you know, the big 500-pound gorilla in the UFC, anything outside of that's building an organization and being able to possibly compete at some point is great for the fighters. And I've always been for the fighters. I'm not necessarily a company man. I've never been. I'll always be for the fighters. And so when a promotion like that can build itself and pay fighters, I love it.
Sending the conversation back to yourself and this upcoming fight. We've got yourself, we've got Mike Perry, Salt Lake City, December 2nd. Eddie, tell me what happens when you square off with Mike Perry in Salt Lake City.
He's too slow. I'm going to hit him too much. And I don't think, I respect Mike Perry and what he does and his resilience. I'm going to hit him too much, too often, too hard. And if he don't stop fighting, I think the ref's going to stop him from fighting. But I think that's how it goes. I don't see it any other way. It won't be enough. I don't think it's going to be enough. And I'm happy the odds are what they are, because Philadelphia is about to make a lot of money.
I love it. Eddie, thank you so much for your time. It's great to see you back in action. It's great to see you back in April. Even better to see you back in just a couple of weeks' time. Wish you the best luck for training camp, and talk soon.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks both. Have a great rest of your day.
Yep.
Okay.
Thanks.